Hi guys, today I want to make sure we know all about pins, and there are really two types we need to worry about. The first one is called a relative pin, and the second one is called a permanent pin. So imagine I have this bishop over here, and the knight decided to take a walk, and now you see the bishop is pinning the knight into the king. It's almost as if the knight was paralyzed. He could never move again as long as the king is there. Even if his life depended on it, he still couldn't go anywhere. And so that means that if, for example, one of my pawns decided to travel to d5 and attack him, he really couldn't run away, even if he really wanted to and really needed to. And that's how we use the pin. First, we pin a piece by the bishop into the king, and then we attack it so that the knight can't run away. So this one is called the permanent pin because there is no way you can break it. But the following game that I will show you guys is an example of a relative pin where white could and did run out of the pin and said, surprise, surprise. I bet you didn't see that coming. And one thing to keep in mind is that every relative pin, for example, like in this game, is actually a discovered attack in reverse. Because in some cases, if my knight can go to, for example, e5 and check the king, if the king was on f7, for example, then my queen can say hi to the bishop. And black always has to watch out for all these discovered attacks that come from a relative pin. So let me show you an example. This is a famous type of checkmate in chess. It's called Legal's mate, where white uses all the pieces and black really doesn't know what's coming until the last moment. So here's how it goes. Black played e5 and took out his center pawn. He's taking out the bishop on this long diagonal. He's taking out the queen, and he's preparing to castle later on. Now, white said, let's ask the pawn a question. Let's see how you're going to defend that pawn. And black said, no problem. I'll take out my pawn, maybe take out my bishop on this long diagonal, and maybe even make a pin on your knights. And at the same time, I'll protect my pawn on e5, of course, right? But there's a small problem. Whenever you guys are taking out pieces, ask yourself this question. Am I leaving someone out right now? In my blueprint, the plan of where all the pieces are supposed to go, is there a piece that I forgot about? Oh wait, the bishop on f8. He's now stuck behind the pawn chain where he's not very happy. He doesn't want to go to e7. That's the worst square for the bishop because he has no scope. He can't see. He will need a good pair of glasses to see from there because that's not good for him. And even though this bishop can come out, black is going to be down on space because he only has one front tooth, and white can get the second front tooth if he plays to d4, or he will get a lead in development by playing bishop to c4, like in this game. So Legal was the guy playing white, and he said, go on, make a pin, which is exactly what black did. So far it's okay for black, but there's a rule that says take out knights before bishops, you see? And white took out the knight before his bishop, while black didn't, and that may come to haunt him later on. So white just continues with the piece race and takes everyone out, right? At first we have the knights out, then I got the bishop out, then I'm gonna castle my king, and I'll take out my last bishop on this diagonal, right? Now black played another normal move, and at least he didn't put the knight on the rim, right? That would be horrible. And he didn't put it here where it's not controlling the center. But it's actually this bishop which will get in the way because white has so many pieces out already. First, white starts with h3 and says, can I ask your bishop a little question about where he's going? And at the same time, I'm just preparing a window so when my king castles to the king side, he will have a square to run away to. I call it the little fire escape for the king in case of emergency. And so black said, I don't want to trade off the bishop for the knight because my bishop is better than your knight. I'm pinning him. How could I give away a pin like that? It just hurts my soul. I can't do that. So I'm gonna run away with my bishop, and maybe next move I'm gonna play knight to d4. I'm going to attack that pin knight, and maybe I'll even double up your pawns with my knight and ruin your roof in front of your king. Now white said, surprise. The point is, we don't care about the pin. We don't mind if you take our queen, which is exactly what happened in this game. And actually, we just did a discovered attack on your bishop, and on the f7 square, which we're now attacking with both the knight and the bishop. And so black has really two choices. If they take with pawn, then I'm just up a pawn after queen takes h5. If they take with knight, then it's an example of a fork. So they win my piece, I win their piece, and it looks like black is just up a piece right now. But actually, can you guys find the fork? I'll give you 2 seconds. Okay, and the correct answer is queen b5. Suddenly it turns out that after the check, black has to stop the check and we take the knight back. We are up a pawn and we got the center and we're up in the piece race. So this is almost a winning advantage. Now, thankfully for black, he didn't fall for that trap, but unfortunately he fell for another. So let me show you what actually happened in this Legal's Mate game. Black took the queen and said thank you. And let me just put that bishop back because it was there. Black didn't think about why is he giving me this queen. He just said, oh, I guess he didn't see the pin. I guess I can take it. And it wasn't a permanent pin. So if white really wanted to, he could leave the queen there, even if that may not be good for himself. But it turns out it's actually bad for the black king's health, because now you have 3 pieces here that are all aimed at this guy on e8. So we have the check next. And the king is starting to get worried because he can't take the bishop because it's protected by the knight. He can't go to d7 because my knight will get him from there. And if he goes to e7, there's a lot of bad news even there. So remember, guys, how can we run away from a check? 3 ways. Run like a chicken, quack, quack, quack. Use the force shield, right? Block with a force shield. And C, capture the attacker. Capture the guy who's checking you. So he couldn't capture, he couldn't block with a force shield because there's nothing to block, and so he had to run away like a chicken. And then thankfully we have check and mate, and that's called Legal's Mate. The king cannot run away here because the knight can't go here because the bishop can't go here because the bishop can't go here because of this knight. And the 3 pieces work perfectly to checkmate this black king. So what just happened there? Black didn't look for any traps, didn't ask himself, why is this queen just hanging there for free? If he really asked himself, he may have seen the trick and stopped it. And so we saw that relative pins are not as good as permanent pins because they don't finish the job, and if white really wanted to, he could still break it.